This episode of Moms on a Mission is brought to you by our friend Vicki with Organic Body Essentials. Vicki has an engineering background, owned a device company selling to pharmaceutical companies, and just could not find a clean, thoroughly organic skincare line. So she created one. It's called Organic Body Essentials. Miriam and I absolutely love her products, and she is a like-minded believer. Go to organicbodyessentials.com to nourish your body with toxin-free products with spa-like fragrances. And let me just tell you, I have already started using lots of her products. We've just been introduced a few weeks back. Laura Trump is using her products.
Yes.
And I was so impressed by what she said. I thought I need to try that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used the hair tonic, the lips, the moisturizer. And so I really encourage you to go to the website and find some products for yourself.
The body scrub is like true brown sugar. Like the scrub is actually brown, and it's like the most natural scrub I've ever used, like totally chemical free. When you think about it, your skin is the largest organ of your body. And to think that you don't have a liver, it's not going through your liver before it like goes straight into your bloodstream from your skin. Oh, wow. So, I mean, the more organic and clean you can be, the better. And she talks about how inexpensive it is compared to other products that are not even organic. So, yeah.
What is your favorite?
I love lip balm.
Okay.
And there's a therapeutic, kind of like Icy Hot, but an organic version.
Yes.
And it's leaving my house like wildfire. My mom came over. She tried it. I have to have some.
Okay.
And I had 2 little samples, and actually one was a large sample and the other was a smaller sample, but she took that. And then my husband sold.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of eggs and things. But I just love the fact that it's organic and it works better than Icy Hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
I need that.
We're going to be talking about that on more episodes, but go to organicbodyessentials.com and use promo code MISSION to save up to 5%. That's organicbodyessentials.com, code MISSION. Also, we want to hear from you. Email us your questions or comments at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And we can't wait to connect with you. Let's get connected. Go to momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform.
Our guest today was a teenager in Southern California living a desperate life full of addiction and heartache. But at 19 years old, Jesus saved and rescued her, which led her to want to rescue others. She has courageously stood toe to toe with sex traffickers in Thailand, Burma, and Brazil, and daily lays down her life for the children. Let me tell you, you do not want to miss her story. She is strong, she is mighty, and she has the most infectious smile and laugh of anyone I know. Please welcome to Moms on a Mission, the one, the only Lana Vasquez.
Hi, Lana. So great to see you again. It was such a privilege. I got to meet Lana at the Reawaken tour down in Miami. And I saw this smile coming. I was like, I got to know who this is. Mm-hmm. And Miriam introduced me to her, and I've only gotten to learn just a little bit. So I'm really excited about this interview today.
So am I. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about your story, who you are and what you do.
Yes. So a little bit about my story. Like the bio said, just I knew that I was rescued to rescue probably at about 19. And I knew I knew that what had happened to me, the transformation, I knew that I needed to do something with it. I knew that all the pain in my childhood and then the experiences in my youth, I knew that somehow God was going to redeem it all in my life. And I knew 2 things. I knew, one, that I wanted to protect and fight for vulnerable and innocent children. Mm-hmm. And I knew, 2, that I would want to reach young adults or youth before the age 19, because nobody ever reached me. Nobody ever said, you don't have to live this kind of life of destruction. There's another way. Mm-hmm. And because of that, that became my 2 personal vendettas at 19. And there was just a quick work that was done in my life. And at 24, I became mama to 52 children. It was a prevention home in Thailand. I started hearing about child trafficking. I started hearing about child exploitation. At that time, I mean, I don't want to give my age away, but
That's okay. We tell ours on a regular basis.
Okay.
And you're way younger than us.
Okay. So 21 years ago, it was when child sex trafficking, child exploitation, it was just taboo. Like, and people either didn't want to hear about it because they thought it was too big. The problem was too big. And I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. I can't do anything. I don't want to hear about it. And so it was at that time, nobody knew that these things were going on. And at that time, a little girl's virginity would go for about $3,000 in Bangkok. Little boys as well. And there would be whole rings that were going. And Bangkok is the armpit of the world, it's called, for these kinds of acts and these things happening. It's the one of the largest red light districts in the world. And so and it has the largest amount of underage children that are sold into prostitution in the world. Thailand's number one. I believe last time we checked, it was Sri Lanka was number 2 and Brazil was number 2 and Sri Lanka was number 3. Now being there, I would say Thailand and Brazil are tied for number 1. And so, but at this time, nobody knew all of these things that were going on. There were different myths. Businessmen would go over there and they would hear that if you slept with a child, you couldn't get HIV. Or they would hear, and there were some myths that it would be good luck for your company. And other myths would be that if you had HIV, it would take it away. And there were different pockets for different speaking businessmen that they would go to in different kinds of ethnic groups and different things. And so I started hearing about this and my heart broke and I knew that's it. Like I have to do something about that. And so, started going that way. I committed 2 months to Thailand. We were supposed to do this also in Mexico, Africa, fourth one, I can't remember. Last one was Brazil. So I committed two months to Thailand because my end goal was going to be to work in Brazil. And I'll tell more about that story later. But so that was end goal. 2 months turned into 6 months. 6 months turned into a year and a half. And a year and a half, basically, the people said, hey, would you take over this organization, this anti-trafficking organization? So became mama at 24 and a half to a prevention home of 52 kids and became the founder of an international organization at 25 and a half. Had no clue what I was doing. We just all put together our savings money. And then
God worked quick with you.
Very quick.
And maybe it's good you didn't know.
Yes, no, it is.
I believe that he gives you what you need and doesn't necessarily tell you the whole plan because that would be daunting.
Yes, I would have been overwhelmed when I would have known how big all of this, 5 countries later and different things. It would have been overwhelming. Like I'm just a single young girl that just said yes to God.
So the adage of, today's trouble enough for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. I think you probably took that on very well,
I guess, because I just had to survive that day.
Yeah. So Lana, will you tell our audience, so talk about that moment. I remember hearing about that. Like, what was your lifestyle before Jesus? And then you had that moment in church and then, and you knew immediately what God was calling. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So actually, I was a go-go dancer in the clubs of Hollywood. And I was a dancer, a dancer for this, the most famous, it was called Power 106, the Baker Boys. It was the most famous kind of Hollywood channel. And we were their dancers. And so whenever there was a new Hollywood club to open up, we would be the ones to go in, and it had a Baker Boy bus and different things. So and I was the president of the.
Of course you was. You were born a leader right here.
So it was leading for bad. I did it very well.
Yeah.
And
it's a bad day for Satan.
It really was. Yeah. It really was. And by that time, actually, and this is what it was kind of like. At that time, I was already hooked on drugs. I was already an alcoholic. I was only 19. And I had already developed epilepsy. I was having seizures because to dance, you have to stay up all night. Those clubs open at 10 and they close at 3. So you were staying up all night, so I wasn't sleeping. And so then I'd have a seizure. And honestly, they called the ambulance twice. I almost died. I have these miraculous stories. I'd wake up in a hospital, but there's about 3 times like life and death. Like I should have died. I started getting in really bad car accidents where like I should be dead in these car accidents. I got in like 6 in a matter of 2 years. And so just life was happening really fast. And I was on a speed, I would say the speed pedal for destruction.
Mhm.
And I was doing it to myself from the inside out. My parents got divorced at 14. My dad was an alcoholic. That's a whole nother redemption story now. But so I had already seen a lot at a very young age. I mean, we didn't have, I was raised in suburban California. Everybody had SUVs and a swimming pool in their backyard. So it wasn't like I was, on the streets begging or anything, but there was a lot of hurt on the inside. There was a lot of dysfunction on the inside. And so I just kept trying to drown that out and the pain and the different things and everything I'd seen. So that was kind of my life. And I was getting ready for a Hollywood club premiere, one of the biggest ones. And I was at my friend's apartment down the street from my aunt. My aunt had just become a born again Christian. I had never met a born again Christian in my life. I believed in Jesus. I didn't know that he could be, I knew he was the savior of the world. And I didn't know that I could ask him to be my personal savior. I didn't know, I believed he was on the cross, and I believed in him like a famous president, like you're there and I'm here. But do you even want anything to do with me? I'm so separated from you, from everything wrong I've done and all of my sin. You want nothing to do with me. And so how do you come off that cross and into my heart and into my right now life, and do you even want to be in my right now life because it's so bad? And so that was kind of my take on church and different things. But my aunt had become a born again Christian, and she was so happy. And she stopped cussing and drinking at the Mexican family barbecues and all these things. And I looked and I could see the difference in her and my family and my cousins. And I knew, I didn't know what a Christian was. And at that point, I thought, oh, maybe you're something else. I don't know. And so I didn't know what that was because I'd never met one. But so I'm getting ready, and all of a sudden something tells me, pick up the phone and call your aunt. And now I know what that something was. It was the Holy Spirit. I didn't know what it was then. And so I said, okay. So I walked over and I picked up the phone. I called my aunt. I said, Aunt Dory, I'm at my friend's apartment down the street from you, like 5 minutes. Can I come over? And I didn't know, so I made up something. And you could dye my hair. And she said, sure, come over. It was a Friday night. She said, sure, honey, come over. So I went over right away, straight away. And I came in and she said, well, and I said, where are you guys going? Because they're getting ready to leave. And she goes, we're going to church. And I said, oh, on a Friday night? I didn't know people went to church on a Friday night. And I thought, and she goes, do you want to come? And I said, oh, sure, I'll go to church. And I called my go-go dancer friends. I said, hey, I'm going to go to church with my aunt really quick. And they said, what are you thinking? Like, this is the biggest event. The Baker Boy bus is going to be here. We can't be late.
Yeah,
Lana.
go-go dancers don't go to church.
And I said, it's like Catholic church. I'll be in and out in an hour. I have time to drive down to LA. Don't worry. Like, I'll be there. Don't worry. I'll get there. And they're like, you better be there. I said, okay, I'll get there. So I went in, and my aunt said, honey, well, maybe you need to change your clothes a little bit because I was dressed like that. And so we went in, changed it, and I went to church with her. I walked in that chapel, and I just saw a whole bunch of people. They were young like me. I didn't know, but it was a club outreach in the club district in Old Town Pasadena with the clubs that I used to dance in. It's called Eco Rock. And it was an outreach for like my age, graduated high school to early 20s. And it was an outreach in that area. And I saw people that I would have seen in the club. I saw them lifting their hands. I saw them worshiping. I saw them crying. And I thought, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't know what this is, but it feels good on the inside. And I've never felt what I feel right now. And so I might as well stay and hear what these people are saying. And so I remember just going, and then all of a sudden the preacher came out, and he was young and he was cute too. And I thought preachers were old and not cute, And so he came out, but I remember his message, and he said, you've been trying to fill that hole in your heart with everything else but Jesus, with drugs, with relationships, with everything. Don't you know what you've been looking for your whole life? He is here tonight. His name is Jesus. And you'll never, he said, he's standing at the door of your heart knocking. And if you open it up and let him come in, you'll never thirst again. You'll never be thirsty again. And I just remember being so thirsty for peace and for love and and to feel clean. And I just remember that. And I mean, it was like, it was like yesterday, I could hear him saying those exact words. And then at that exact moment, when he was speaking, I saw an open vision. It was like a film reel and an old Hollywood, those old Hollywood reels. It was like that. And it's neat how God knows how to speak to you, because I'm from California, Southern California. So I saw this old Hollywood, and we see those everywhere. Like it's one of our marks, right? Is Hollywood. And so I saw an old Hollywood film reel, and I saw every scene of my life. And I saw the career girl scene, I saw the college, and it couldn't keep my attention. I saw, because my parents were all in upper level management, so I can just get a job with them like that. Like I helped my mom as a payroll assistant when I was 17, 18, so nothing really was hard for me, but I just didn't find satisfaction in any of it. My dad's built half of LA. So if I just go and organize his receipts and do his simple admin and send emails for him, I could have had a job with that as well. And so I saw all these times when I tried to be happy or I tried to be satisfied. I saw the different relationships. I saw the different things that I tried to fill my heart with. And the last one was blank in that reel. And the Lord, I heard that same voice that said to call your aunt. I heard that voice say, the decision you make tonight will change your life forever. And my cousin, my 14-year-old cousin, was sitting next to me. And she said at that same time, they gave an altar call. Whoever wants this new life to come forward, whoever wants to never thirst again, to come forward and receive Jesus. And she said she went to turn to me, and that I had already ran up to the altar, and that I was already up there. And she told me this now. So that part, I don't remember how I got up there, but I just remember being at that altar, and I remember doing this. Nobody told me, I don't remember anything else from that but this. And I remember having my eyes closed and crying. And I remember it was like a bright light that was on the other side. And I was so scared to open my eyes because I thought I'd see Jesus or God standing on the other side. Because I was raised believing in Jesus or God. So I was so scared. So I was just crying. And I just remember I prayed this prayer, and nobody told me to pray this. And I said, God, I've made a mess of my life. Like this life that you've given me up until 19, I've made a mess. I'm in a million pieces. My heart's in a million pieces. My mind's in a million pieces. My body's in a million pieces. And I said, but if you can do anything, I'll give these million pieces to you. And these million pieces are yours. And if you could do anything with this mess that I've done so far up until 19, then it's yours. And at that moment, it was like warm honey from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And wherever the honey touched, it cleansed and made whole. And I felt like I had never sinned before. I felt like nothing had ever happened, because as a young girl, that's kind of part of why I do what I do. I was sexually abused at my babysitter's house. And so that was kind of like where and I feel like that's where the door comes in for the enemy, to take their purity, to take children. That's where he's after, is the purity of children, the pureness of children, because then there's shame, and you don't know how to handle that kind of stuff at such a young age, right? You don't know how to process any of that. And you should be protected from that stuff. You should really, and because they can't fight for themselves at that point until they can fight for themselves and say, no, my body. And so that all came in at a young age. So I felt that kind of sin and that just that heaviness and guilt and shame and all of that from, I would say, 8 years old, and so up until 19. So for the first time, it was cleansed, and I felt pure, and I felt whole, and I felt like nothing had ever happened to me, and no one had ever touched me, and I'd never touched anything, sin. And I just felt like I knew something was different about me. And instantly, like, I knew that I was instantly healed from epilepsy, that I was instantly set free from alcohol addiction. I knew from drugs, like I knew I was different. And I couldn't stop smiling, and I couldn't stop crying. And I went outside, and it was like I saw in color. The sky was blue and the grass was green. And I remember looking at my aunt, and I said, what happened to me? What happened to me? What happened? And she said, it's Jesus, and you'll never be the same again. And the first scripture I ever read in the Bible at 19 years old is, he who's in Christ is a new creation. Old things passed away. Behold, all things become new. And I said, that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me. So I encountered Jesus before I ever read about it. And at that moment, I called my friends, my go-go dancer girlfriends, and I said, I met the man of my dreams. I met who I'd been looking for my whole life. His name is Jesus, and I'm never coming back. And they said, we don't know how you went from bar girl to Mother Teresa in 0.2 seconds, but if he can do it for you, then there's hope for all of us, because you were the worst out of all of us. And if he can forgive you, then there's hope for us. And one by one, all those bar girl dancer friends started getting saved. My boyfriend that I had since 14 until 18, that was a gang member, he ended up getting saved. He's a children's pastor today. And
Lana.
so like they couldn't believe the change that had happened in my
I
life.
did not think you were going to say that.
Yes.
I thought your go-go friends were going to be like, oh, girl.
She's crazy.
Nutsy. See you later.
No,
It's just
it was such a miracle, you know.
such a miracle.
So
And I think that's really neat.
So many
how
lives
just your own
changed.
basic life. I mean, this isn't like, I'm going to go in the ministry and I'm going to get my friends saved. It was just like a natural, organic progression.
Like a couple of
your
decisions,
which
Yeah.
really
listening to the
you see
Spirit.
that in the Bible, like
Yes.
when like the woman at the well or like the woman who was caught in adultery, like these were just natural things. And they went and they told their friends, just like you didn't even think twice about that. You're like, I'm not coming.
Yes.
And that's amazing. I
Yes.
didn't know that either.
Yes. And so now,
No,
and
I'm glad you
Dad
shared your
and
story.
my mother and all of them actually are all believers now to this day.
Wow.
That father, and it was that.
And just the prompting of the Holy Spirit to
Mhm.
call your
Yes.
aunt.
Yes.
Because you
listened to
obeyed.
it
Yes.
and you listened.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes we doubt,
Yes.
even as Christians, sometimes that the Holy Spirit is speaking to us. And you know what? Make
Right.
the call,
Right.
go to church, walk through the doors,
Right.
listen,
Right.
because you don't know, it's not just going to affect your life. It could, I mean, thousands of
Well,
lives now, Lana,
And
Yeah.
that's,
maybe hundreds of thousands.
Right.
that's why we do what we
Mhm.
do. That's what
Mhm.
we say. One, that we're rescued to rescue. Like
I
I
love
know
that.
God rescued me,
That's
not
powerful.
just for me.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. But I know, okay, now you've been given the keys and you've been freed from jail. You were rescued to rescue. Freely you've received this. Now freely give.
Mm.
And so that's one. But the other one is change a life, change the world. That's our
Mhm.
other motto. It's
Mm.
all over our shirts and everything. And it's basically just one life. Just
Yeah.
one life change has the potential to change 5 around them. And then those lives change another 10 around
The
them.
exponential
And
factor.
it keeps on rippling. The ripple effect of
It's
a
real.
changed life can result in the effect of a changed world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You never know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You just have to stop and think about that sometimes. I think been doing this great study with called resilience or resilient. And it was just talking about that very thing of, you got to step back sometimes and get your head out of your phone. And, we've been talking about intentionality and being, think about what we're doing. But what you're just saying is we've got to, really think about how we're making decisions. And when the Holy Spirit calls us to do something, to be intentional and to move forward
Yes.
and to go into that door, because you
Yes.
don't know how that's going to change
Right.
lives,
Right.
change families,
Right.
change countries. And then we're going to get more into that.
Right. And if I could just speak that
Yeah.
really quick, and it starts with small. It started with me calling my aunt, and
Yeah.
now look at this. What has happened now from this? And then that's how we got our first little girl for $24, our first 8-year-old. And that was how my mom heard go and put she felt like to put $24 in, make a deposit in the ATM. And she said, what can $24 do? And she didn't know that would be the day that we rescued our 8-year-old girl for $24, but it was those promptings. It was true then, and it's true 21 years. And that's how we've rescued children around the world, is because of that, following that same prompting since when it was go at 19, pick up the phone and call your aunt.
And isn't that interesting that you weren't even saved, but you
No.
could hear the voice? I think that's incredibly powerful.
That's
like
crazy.
you weren't even saved, you could hear the voice of the Holy Spirit and you obeyed.
Right.
God is near.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did you decide what countries you'd go to?
Yeah. So I knew about child trafficking. I always say it like this: the plan of God is like kind of sometimes like a puzzle. You don't get everything at once. He'll give you pieces. You have a glimpse of the picture. You know the direction, but you get pieces and the details. And so part of that was I was all of a sudden I started hearing about Thailand. Thailand didn't come up yet, but I started hearing about Thailand, started hearing about children involved in trafficking. And then I was in my itty bitty Church of God back in Simi Valley, California. And all of a sudden, a Brazilian missionary came through, and he'd come through every year, and he was working with the children in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And he started talking, which is the capital of Brazil. He started talking about there are 300,000 street kids in the streets of Sao Paulo. You see 10-year-olds pregnant because they're just on the street. So they keep multiplying and having babies, and they're a problem that won't go away. And so that they have no value. Their life has no value to the people. And so the store owners, and they're bad for business if they're loitering around. So the store owners pay off the police, and they will line them up along the wall, and they will just massacre them. And they'll dump them in the sewages of Sao Paulo, and you can smell the bodies of rotting children in the sewages of the open sewages of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And he started talking about 5-year-olds. You'll see them walking around sniffing glue. And it's not just because they're hooked on drugs, but it's to kill the hunger pains, because glue is cheaper than food in Brazil because of the inflation. And that's part of the poverty. That's part of the exploitation. And then there's more kids on the street than there is food in the trash or in the dumpsters to feed these kids. And I heard this, and I was sitting in the back, and I was just weeping. I couldn't stop. The tears were just streaming down my face. And I was actually home in between Bible school time, and I was praying, God, okay, I know I'm rescued to rescue. What does that mean? What's the details of that? Like, what does that even look like? And what do I do now? Like, what's my next step? And I was really seeking the Lord for my next step. Like, okay, can you fill in the blanks a little bit? Can you color in this picture a little bit? And so I heard this, I'm weeping. All of a sudden it was like a break at Sunday school or something. And the pastor's wife came up to me, put the microphone to me and said, Lana, what do you want to do for the Lord? And just out of my spirit said, I want to work with exploited children internationally. And all of a sudden my aunt looked at me and she goes, you do? And I said, I guess that's what I said. It was like that next puzzle piece. And then another time around that same time, right before school got out, I was praying and just seeking the Lord about my next steps. And the Lord gave me Psalms 127 verses 3-5. As arrows in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. They will not be ashamed, but they will subdue and conquer the enemy at the gate. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, you're going to do children's homes. There are generations that don't know me, generations that are sitting in darkness. You're going to raise up a generation to know me. And that generation will reach their own nation and stop the evils in their own nation. And in the Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu nations of the world, there are generations that don't know me. You will make me known, and you will make me known to them. And they will go and they will make me known to their own people and to their own nations and their own places where you rescue them from. And so, like, I'm 23 at this point. I have never been on a missions trip. I'd never seen a children's home. I didn't know anything like this, but I have that piece, and I have Sao Paulo, Brazil. So actually, I thought I was going to go work with Brazil. So after that missionary was speaking, I said, hey, I'm in Bible school. I have one more year. As soon as I graduate, I'm going to come and work with you with the street kids in Sao Paulo. Give me the applications. Tell me how much I need to raise and save up, and I will do it. I'll be there in Sao Paulo as soon as I graduate. So I actually set my face for Brazil. In the God scheme of things, Thailand, I met some other missionaries and they said, we're going to do this. First one, we're going to do the same thing, rescue homes. And what they heard was they were going to these places, starting Bible schools, and they heard the cries of these children, and they saw children being sold, 8, 9, 10-year-olds being sold. And they actually heard a 10-year-old's cry from a brothel, like that, from the beach. And it was like, okay, we have to do something. So they had a slogan, he's heard their cries, he's answered their prayers, we planned their escape. And so I was a part of the pioneer team for these rescue homes to start them. The first one was going to be Thailand. The second one was Mexico. Third one was India. Fourth one, I can't even remember. And fifth one was Brazil. And I said, I will commit 2 months to all of these. But when we get to Brazil, I will live there. Well, within my first 2 months, this little Asian girl came up to me and she looked at me and said, you don't have a mom and I don't have a daughter. From this day forth, you're my mom and I'm your daughter. And I couldn't leave those kids. And 6 months into it, I just knew I couldn't leave them. A year and a half into it, I knew I couldn't leave them. And so every year I'd say, but what about Brazil? But what about Brazil? And then eventually God brought Brazil. So it was more of a journey. I just said, yeah. And this is what I say. I just said yes at the opportunities. I said yes at the little things. I just kept saying yes to God, and it eventually led me to my destiny. Yeah. And so, but I said yes okay, I'm going to go for 2 months and I'm going to help start a rescue home. And I was 24 years old and had no clue what I was doing. And I just kept saying yes to God. And he said, will you take over the organization when those other people left? Yes. I don't know how to do it, but yes, I'll do it. Will you stay in Thailand one more year? Yes. Will you do this? Yes. And I just kept saying yes until ultimately here. So
I think that's so encouraging, because I think people can look at you now and be like, wow, you have this massive ministry and you've rescued thousands and thousands of children. And they don't see it's just those small little yeses, and how God puts all those yeses together to make this massive, beautiful rescue mission picture. But it didn't happen overnight.
No.
And it was just, I think some people are paralyzed and feel like it's such a daunting task to make a difference in whatever God calls you to do. But it's just like the little yeses that added up together to create this.
And you were
picture.
so young. I mean, a lot of us would give ourselves the excuse, well, I'm too young. I'm not equipped. And it just makes me think about our disciples.
Yeah.
The disciples, they were very young men and they were not equipped.
Yes.
And they came from backgrounds that they're like, what, you're going to go all over the world and save people?
You're a fisherman.
Yeah, right. You're not, you're not anybody extra
Scholar.
special,
Yeah.
but your story, that's what I just thought of. It's just that you were just trusting in the Lord step by step, listening to the Spirit. And from what I can tell from your story, you haven't said it doesn't sound like you were thinking, oh, I can't do this. I'm not that equipped. I'm sure you had moments of that, but you pushed through it.
Right now, even.
Well, I don't do that. But I mean, you
pushed through it. I do it
I feel
anyways.
like God just gave you a
I do it
mighty,
anyways.
listening to the Spirit for one
Yes.
thing, and then just being obedient. It's like you knew that obedience was a part of the plan.
Oh, absolutely.
And that God equips the called. He doesn't necessarily call the equipped, but he
Yeah.
equips the called.
Yeah.
And you obviously have had such a good relationship with the Lord and a trust that you thought, hey, this is your show. I tried it my way. It didn't work so well. So now we're going to do it your way. And, it's on you. All I have to do is say yes and obey. And the outcome is up to the Lord.
And that was the thing. That was exactly it, that I did do it my way and I ruined it. And so now every day from that 19-year-old moment at the altar with him, every day is yours. Like, it's not mine anymore. We made a great exchange. You bought my life at that altar that day and you paid the price. And so now every day I live as a yes to you. Every day you have my yes before you ask. So I think it was a great exchange at that altar, his life for my life for his life. And so that's exactly it.
So what was the hardest or scariest situation that you've encountered?
Gosh, it's so funny. Everybody is,
Because you've been in some crazy places.
We have. I've been in both Thailand and Brazil. I mean, firsthand. You said scary, but the crazy thing is I have like this. I mean,
you don't get
it's
scared.
ridiculous.
She doesn't get
I'm
scared of
4'11" and a half. And if you see my dad,
Scared's not a word in her
he's
vocabulary.
a big, like looks like a Mexican mafia kind of guy. He's huge. He's like 2 of me and then 2 of me tall. And I just remember as a young age, like he'd grab my hand and say, "Don't be afraid, I'm right here."
I love that.
And we'd be in like downtown LA in Skid Row, going because he built a building. He was showing us, and we were walking by, and I just remember him, "Don't be afraid, I'm right here."
Getting ready.
That translated, like it's like whenever. Don't be afraid, I'm right here. So so how about we say scary for somebody else? Because
there you go.
I think it's just not natural. And I think God equipped me with that to be able to do what I do.
Scary for Julie and I.
Yes.
And everybody else listening.
The word for you is challenging.
Yeah.
What's been the most challenging?
Oh goodness, there's been so many most challenging. So I'll tell you the truth, to rescue a child from a trafficker, it again, just having God there and being led and different things for us, that's not challenging for us. I would say the challenging part of rescue work. So we do all 3. We do prevent, rescue, and heal. So we're in the prevention. So that means we're in the communities and we go to the pools where the traffickers or the bad guys prey on their vulnerability, and we try to get them before the bad guys or the traffickers get them, and try to get in that community, bring solutions, talk that mom out of selling their child, So we try to prevent it. And actually we spend at least $5,000 a month just in our prevention teams. It's like they're going out every week looking for that next child that would have been sold. And instead of just taking them away, trying to talk the mom out of their vulnerable situation and let us meet you at your vulnerable situation. So I think so that's one aspect, the rescue side. And now we work with the government in rescuing in Thailand, not yet in Brazil, that's next, but we work in Thailand with the government. So even rescuing, it's not that it's easy. I'm not going to say that. I mean, it is, I would say for us, even though it's the most beautiful and keeps us in the game, like just keeps us keep going when we see that transformation, but it's the heal side of things. And we think kids are okay, and seeing their trauma, at even such a young age, like seeing a 4-year-old that was they were treated like an animal and fed scraps. And so seeing them when they see a box of cereal on top of the refrigerator and you're talking to them, they can't even hear you and they lock on and it's like, and they just don't, and they climb that refrigerator to get that box of cereal because of food. Like they just act like an animal because that's how they were treated.
Yeah.
Or to see it like a girl we rescued at 8 years old that was sold, for $24, and to know she was sold before and we just happened to get her from being like moved and transferred, and to later see we gave her everything. Like we give these children, we treat them like they're our own. If you see the promised land, like we treat them, they get what we do is family style safe homes. So we do 4 to 10 kids in a home. We give them a mom that doesn't sell them, a father that doesn't abuse them. We let them see a healthy family, mother and father unit, a healthy marriage, just to stop the cycle of exploitation, and everything from education. We put them through university if they want, or if they want to go through vocational training, we give them tutoring, we give them the best medical, the best food. We have organic farms. Like we love them. I'm there with them. Like we love them like our own, it's when you go, it's like the Garden of Eden. It's really like the promised land. No, everybody says there's no place on earth like this place. To see that we've given them all of this and then they still choose, and it hasn't been a lot. I would say it's been not even a handful of 5, but I think that is the most challenging, is to just love unconditionally and give them freedom unconditionally and rescue them and bring them back thinking that now they're going to make the best choices, but giving them that space that they don't make the best choices. It's like, can't you see, like we rescued you out of this. You would be a beggar on the streets. You would be dead. You can't say that to children, but to say that and be like, where would you be if we didn't rescue you? Like you would be tied up somewhere. You'd be chained to a wall somewhere. You'd be chained to a bed. Like that, those are some of our cases. And now just to see that they still will live under that and not even, we give them counseling and stuff through their trauma, but to see them go back to that, that's what's
hard.
Challenging.
Yeah.
I've loved them out of that. Like we've loved you out of that, but then that God created people with a free will. I would have done it completely different. And that's why I'm not God, but a free will, so I would say that's the greatest challenge for me.
And that's a good parallel to when God gives us free will, watching us. I have this for you and you've chosen this.
Yes.
You can see that over and over and over again, but to watch it play out in the work that you do must just hurt your heart.
It does.
And then just having to keep giving them to the Lord.
It does.
And who knows, that is embedded in their heart, that what you've done for them, and hopefully they'll turn back and come back to you someday.
Yes. And
I'm sure that's happened, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it has. It has. I have some amazing God stories. And then the last one is the corruption within the governments that we're working in and the nations. It's like, we're not just fighting the traffickers that are there. That's the lowest level. Like, it's not even that. It's so embedded, and the corruption is so in the mindsets of people to get their eyes and hearts to see these are children, And so I think the corruption in the countries that we work with and the mentalities of that that's a challenge. That's a bigger Goliath for me than the rescue.
And all three, are they all about the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why it prevails. That's why it continues to do it, is because of the lack of enforcement and because it's one of the biggest, child trafficking is one of the biggest money makers now. It's going to surpass.
And it's becoming more and more. Thankfully, we're starting to get more information about this.
Yes.
I think the word is slowly in the United States people are waking up. And I know that movie Sound of Freedom coming out on the 4th of July. I'm looking forward to that. I want to get more. It's after talking to you, Lana, and then hearing about the movie, and it's, I know General Flynn is involved in this fight, and it's really a call to all of us. We need to be way more informed, because it's going on right here.
Yes.
And I'm sure you could, that'd be another podcast, David.
Yes.
I think, your story, gosh, it's so compelling. It's just, we need to all be paying attention and realize that, the United States, we think our government is working for us on those areas, but it starts to make me think not so much.
Well, not when the border is wide open.
Oh,
and
right.
They're just burying kids at the border. I know Laura Logan has talked about that, the shallow graves and the ground you're walking on. I mean, they're just multiple kids, buried there. So Well, what are you currently working on? What is your
Yes.
project you're currently working
So currently, so we're in Thailand, Burma, and Brazil.
on?
So I'm currently in 3 places in Brazil. One is the Amazon. The second one is the north. It's called Juazeiro. It's the northern, and that's where in the north is where children sell their bodies for rice and beans. And then Rio de Janeiro, which is one of the most dangerous favelas in the world. It's one of them is the City of God. We recently just got a crack house from the drug traffickers. They literally gave it to us in the City of God, and we're reaching right now. I thought the last number was 180. We just got the money to refurnish some rooms of this crack house, and we're going to be reaching in the next 2 months 500 children.
Wow.
And these children, again, they're those ones that don't have any value. Their only aspiration is either to be a drug trafficker or the girlfriend of a drug trafficker or to have a baby with a drug trafficker. So we're doing a ballet room. We're doing wood shop for the boys. We're teaching them something that they can make with their hands because they're already selling drugs at 8, 9, 10 years old and doing drugs. So if we could teach them something with their hands, that's also entrepreneur, shit kind of mentality, and they can get quick money, we can get them out of that trade and out of the trafficking trade. So that the north, we just acquired a warehouse in the north, and we're already reaching 300 kids, but we're going to locate them and then put that warehouse will reach 500 kids as well. We're fixing up enough rooms to reach 500 kids. And then so a lot of the exploitation starts with children as well. So then we'll be it'll free our current building, and we're going to have like a drop-in daycare, and the same as City of God, so that these children aren't sexually abused or exploited even young. We can get them while they're young and change the trajectory of a generation. But the one I'm getting on a flight from here to go to is in the Amazon. It's Manaus, and that's where the girls are sold to the big ships. Like there's a lot of tourism there, and the little girls, they're sold out in their boats to the boys to these touristy ships, and they have these parties with these girls. And if something goes wrong, they'll tie a stone to them, throw them on the other side of the water, and then they'll send their rickety boat that was tied to the side of the big yacht with a pile of money to buy the parents' silence. And you'll never hear or see these girls ever again, and boys as well, these children. So we're starting the first safe home in the Amazon.
Oh, wow.
The government has begged us. They said, it's a pandemic, like it's epidemic. It's an epidemic, please. And so when I go back, we already scouted out a location. We already have a location.
You raised some money.
And no, that's what we're
Okay,
doing.
you're gonna okay.
Project. And so we're going to raise money. We're
Okay.
remodeling the building, but we found the location.
Okay.
We found the safe home. We found, by law, you have to have a psychologist, a social worker, house mom. We already found all of those,
Wow.
and we're ready to go. So I go to pioneer that right now.
Okay, so it's just the money you need.
Yeah,
You got everything else. It's just the money. And God's going to bring that.
He does.
Yeah. He
These are
does.
his children.
Okay, well, on that note, how can people find you?
Yes.
And how can they personally, get involved? Because we
Okay.
need to raise money. This is a amazing project, Lana, that you're working on. I would love for the Moms on a Mission audience to get involved.
Yes.
And I mean, you've affected thousands and thousands and thousands of children.
Yes.
I mean,
She's not a beginner in
I can't
this.
even imagine the numbers. So we do need to get behind her and Life Impact International and give money to this project, because all the other ones, I mean, the Lord clearly has blessed the work of your hands,
Yes.
has anointed you to do this. I mean,
He's
this is what
called
you
you
were
to this.
made to do.
Thank you. So it's Life Impact International,
Okay.
www.lifeimpactintl, short
Okay.
for international.org.
Okay.
And then also we're on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and can reach us there as well. We also have a Life Impact Brazil social media page as well. So
That's so
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
We're so glad you joined us today, Lana. So much information, and we want to have Lana back on.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do a Zoom call with
yes,
you.
Yeah.
let's do it.
I'd
Yeah.
love
Let's
to
do it.
follow up with you. Really quick,
Yeah.
this just thought is going through my
Yeah.
mind. What is it like negotiating a space
Ooh.
with people like that? Like that,
Yes.
I don't even know. I can't even formulate an image in my
Yes.
mind.
So I have a team that's as crazy as me,
Okay.
young girls just as crazy as me. And she literally went with her baby on her hip, and she said the drug traffickers are like they're like professionals. You have to, like professional businessmen. We had to do a whole plan. We had to show them our proposal and show them. But the neat thing, so I was there on our inauguration day, our opening day, and we're there. They sent so you have the top, you have the second, and he's the money runner, so he's the third. He's one of the most trusted ones up the chain. And they sent him to get pictures and video of everything on the opening inauguration day. And so after, like, we went to a side room, and I said to talk, he wanted to talk to me. And I said, can I pray for you? And he got very serious and he said, yes. And I said, can I put my hand on your shoulder? And he got serious again. He said, yes. So I put my hand on his shoulder and I prayed for him. And all of a sudden, like he shook like this. And I thought, oh God, please, like if a demon's going to come out or something, let it come out or he's going to kill me. Like, don't let him shoot me when he opens his eyes, And so he opened his eyes and I looked at him and he looked at me and his eyes it looked like he was going to cry. Like, and he was flushed, he was red. And he said, I've never seen even a little bit of what you guys are doing with these children, not even a little bit. And he said, if you continue to do what you're doing with these children, you have our protection and you have our word that you will be safe here, is what he said.
Lana.
And so it's like we have this crazy favor. I mean, I guess that's the best way you could say it. Crazy favor. When we rescued our girl, that's for another story, another time. But when we rescued our girl, I literally drove away our first 8-year-old girl for $24, and the traffickers drove up like this. And she literally said, that's who I was going to go down to Bangkok with. And they basically just waved at me and I waved at them and I drove away with this girl. And then just different times like that, we've negotiated with mama sans who are like the fake grandmas of the begging rings of the kids. And it's just this crazy favor that we've had. And it's like honor amongst thieves, I guess, where it's like, okay, well, we respect you. You're crazy. And
yeah. So we're going to stay away from you. Well, I truly believe, and I think your life is a great example of this, and that is you're safer in the will of God and doing the will of God than not. I mean, it would be safer for you to be in the throes of all of this and to be in LA and to just do your business job for your dad. I mean, driving down the road, feeling like you have a safe suburban kind of life,
especially now.
And to think and just to see the hand of God and the protection of God in such crazy situations that you're not afraid of, we now know. So that's
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's so amazing. That's really amazing.
Okay, so remember, let's be praying for Lana and her team at Life Impact International. You can reach them on social media and go to their website at lifeimpactinternational.com or .org. .org.
Sorry.
Okay, .org. No problem. I'm just going to get that right because we want to give donations and support the work that they're doing. Amazing work. And we are going to follow up because we want to hear about after the money is raised. We want pictures and all kinds of things to stay connected to you.
Yes, I could Zoom you guys from the Amazon.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. We're going to put that on the calendar. Yes. And we want to stay connected with you. So please go to our website at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. Also contact us, email us with comments or questions at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform. Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hi everybody, it's Moms on a Mission here. Recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed.
Parasites are the cause of many health problems, such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health.
We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all-natural detoxification and fights inflammation. These supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively.
To order your Full Moon Protocol, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Order Full Moon Protocol and start killing those foreign invaders that have been keeping you sick. That's bravetv.store/mission to receive $20 off your first order.